So
It was kind of funky, wasn't it?
that was a great start. It's well, welcome everyone. If you're just starting to join us, here we are, Pen. This is like lockdown flashbacks, isn't it?
It totally is, because I know we've been doing podcasts recently, but we've never actually done a podcast live. So we're kind of like, why don't we do that? Why
Have
not?
we go at it?
Well, I think because with the podcasts, we'd actually just been doing them in one take. We're just one take wonders, weren't
I
we?
know.
So we were
Brilliant.
like, actually, we'll go for it. We're going to do this. So this is completely live.
It is. We're in
church
Belfast. It's 7:34 on a Tuesday night, and we're here
with a lovely media team.
with the media team. Well
Did a
done.
fantastic job.
Talking about parenting, and because we have a parenting course coming up, but if you're not a parent, still listen anyway, because you're going to learn something over the next half hour. It's going to be fine. It's going to be good, isn't it? It's going to be fun. We're going to talk about grace and family and all that great stuff.
It's going to be great. I was kind of laughing to myself because you kind of, as a parent, think, what actually qualifies you to talk about parenting, like, you know, generally? And
yeah.
I had it in my head that I know our girls are going to start playing up this week, because I'm going to probably turn up tonight thinking, oh my word, this is, and literally just before we came out tonight, we had our son on the phone. We had to pop some stuff into someone we know, and Ben phoned saying, you better get back here because it's all kicking off.
I was sitting in the car. So Penny is delivering some messages, and my phone goes, and you're going, this is like 2 hours for a parenting podcast. And it was Ben saying, where are you? And I said, well, I'm out with your mum delivering something. And he said, well, you better get back here. It's all kicking off. And I said, what happened? And he said, well, to be fair, it's probably my fault. He said, I was annoying the dog, so she was barking, and then Hope shouted at me, so I shouted at her, and then Sophie got involved, and Hope pulled Sophie's hair, and so Sophie's crying. It's all kicking off. And then he said to me, and there's actually nothing I can do about it, so you better get back here quick. And I was like, Ben, what is it that we're talking? Fix it, son, before Daddy gets back. That would be really good if you could fix it. So there we are. We are the least qualified the least qualified people to be talking about parenting. The irony of it, you know, isn't it? It's like, but are you not suspicious of people who want to talk about parenting anyway? Like they've kind of got it sussed. I'm always dead suspicious of those types.
Well, to be honest, I think, you know, you meet a lot of people in life and they talk about things that they enjoy or things that they've accomplished and things that they're good at. But I've never really met anybody who says, see, parenting, I have got it sussed.
I've got that nailed.
My kids are perfect and come round to my house anytime, and it'll just be like the Waltons.
I'd be like the Waltons, good night, John Boy, and all that. Or is that Little House in the Prairie? Who knows? But, you know, so, listen, so help us out here, because what parenting, right, is both a privilege and a responsibility, isn't it? It's like nothing prepares you for it. I remember when... you know, when we were having our first Ben, we've got a boy and 2 girls, and everyone's full of great advice, aren't they? Mm-hmm. Read this book. You know, this works for me, and you know, with my kids, and you know, depending who you talk to, you got a different point of view about how you need to create family, and particularly a family in grace. You know, and thinking to myself, like, I remember when we first got Ben, when he was born, we didn't go to a shop and buy him. You know, it's like whenever I'll have that one. You know, I remember when we got Ben walking out of the hospital, and he was in one of the car things, you know, the
car seat.
The seat, thank you. And I remember thinking to myself, are these people crazy? They're actually letting me out with a baby.
And
do you know what I mean?
Yes.
And it's like, do they actually know that I have no clue
what I'm doing?
I actually wanted to stop a nurse and go, this is not a great idea. I'm just going to lay this out for you. Like, do you really trust us?
No, it is very scary. And I think like that initial stage, when it's the newborn, it's just, your world is completely upside down, isn't it? Absolutely nothing prepares you for it. I remember Andrew and I going like, what did we used to do on Saturday mornings? Like, sir, what did we used to do? Did we do breakfast or something? Because it was just like suddenly...
We did. We went out for a fry and I played golf.
That's right.
Yeah.
But then the world just changes, priorities change, and everything's very timetabled, isn't it, with babies? It's like sleep time, feeding time, bath time, bedtime. Your day is just kind of in chunks. And if anything gets messed up in that order, it just all goes out the window. I remember like if you let them sleep too long, and then they're falling asleep in the tea, and it's like you do anything, keep them awake, you know, slapping water around their faces, just don't let them sleep now, they'll never sleep tonight.
I thought you were going to say slapping their faces. That'd be a really, come to our parenting course.
Come to our parenting course, we'll
awesome.
teach you something. But it's that whole sense of like, it's all about managing energy levels, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because you're running on empty a lot of the time, and just that first initial stage, it's hectic.
I know.
It's brilliant. You love it when they sleep, but even then,
But then they get
listening.
older, right? They get older.
Yes.
And that's. I remember thinking, you know, my granny used to have a wee saying when they would do something, like when we would do something, she would say to my mum and dad, "Well, it's just a wee bit of personality, you know." And you just
A lot of
realise
personality.
they start to say no. They start to choose things. They don't always do what you want. I remember that going, you know, don't do that. And Ben, it's like, don't touch, and he would be like, you know, doing that. And you kind of realise they're not robots. You can't just tell them, right, go and do that. It'd be great if you could, but you can't control kids, particularly as they start to get older. So what do? Well, I think most of us just make it up. And the truth of it is, we kind of do what was done to us or what we've seen. So this kind of osmosis around parenting where, you know, we're a church about grace. We want to have the grace of God touch every area of our lives. But, you know, when it comes to parenting, particularly, well, I would say it doesn't matter what part of the world you're from. Like, you know, normally it's what your parents did to you, and most parents are great. What we saw at school or grandparents, and it's this kind of curious mix of stuff, isn't it? And that's kind of how it works.
Absolutely. And I think what we need to realise today is, you know, society has changed and it's moved on. And, you know, we probably all know the old school stories of, like, I know my dad talked about being caned in school and everything was around fear, you know, influencing people's behaviours. That was like children were seen and not heard, and you just did as you were told. You know, I know that this generations that was scarred by that, and you know, we don't want that for our kids now, we don't want those extremes. But at times when we don't know what to do, or at times when we're under pressure, we still kind of reach for that sort of, you know, just raise your voice a bit. You better not do that, or else, you know, there can be threats in there. We kind of use that same tool of intimidation. It's not as bad as like getting the cane out, but it's still, you know, when we're not sure what to do, we just can often try and control by threats. And
well, you're
you don't
bigger,
want to see,
right? You just make yourself bigger.
Absolutely. And, you know, I know when I was growing up, I was fairly compliant, but at times as I was getting older and I felt my mum was being overprotective, it just actually pushed me to do the opposite half the time of what she was saying. What about you? How did you get on when you were told to just do as you were told?
Well, it didn't work. Frankly, it just didn't work. I think what happens is when, like, if it gets into a battle of wills with our kids, certainly with me, it actually strengthened my resolve to go, I'm not going to be beaten, sometimes literally. And so that was a wee joke. And so what happens is, I think, you know, kids normally respond in one of two ways, don't they? I know I did. You know, you were compliant, so kids will either go super compliant, or other ones will fight you. It doesn't mean like physically fight you, but, you know, it can become like you versus me. And, you know, it's easy to get surface. I think that's the thing that we have learned. You know, it's easy to get surface compliance. Like on the surface of it, you know, I can bully you almost into good behavior, but there can be this underlying resentment or bitterness. And what happens is disconnection builds up between us and them. And over time, you know, you can find that in really, really tight environments, there's actually the connection between us and our kids can be lost because the emphasis is all about obedience. And obedience is important. Learning to be obedient. Grace is not soft, right? It helps us to be obedient, but it's always done in connection, you know. And it's like, I want you to obey because we're connected and we love each other, and it's important, not because you'll get your milk kicked in if you don't. And it's kind of the way God created family, isn't it? I think that, like, families are meant to be these pictures of love and unity, which makes me chuckle, like, given what happened tonight before he came out. You know, this place where actually God designed family for heaven on earth. You know, it's like these relationships where we practice unconditional love, where we practice grace. And, like, I think homes and our houses, whether we're parents or grandparents or aunts or uncles, or we have interaction with kids like nephews and nieces, it's like we're meant to be a safe training ground for them. Absolutely. Isn't it? To equip them to manage themselves well, so that, you know, when they get out into the world, like, they're able to thrive and survive and do well. And that's what I think we have to do, rather than just get compliance and lose connection. So I think that's what our parenting course is about, isn't it? I mean, is that kind of where we're going with it?
Absolutely. And that, I mean, I think it's been on our heart for a while to do a parenting course, because I think at times we're all doing our best. We're all doing the best that we know to do. And unless we talk about, is there another way, unless we start to think about, is there another approach, then we're just going to keep replaying the same scenes. But at times we can get frustrated. I know over the course of time, even for me, there's times when I've thought like, oh, God, I don't want it to be like this. I don't want, particularly, I think when Ben was a teenager, there was times it just got frustrated. It felt like everything was about schoolwork and just, it felt like it was me, schoolwork, and Ben, and the schoolwork was always getting in the middle, and there was a lot of arguments and frustration from him and from me. And so I kind of feel, God doesn't want that for us. He doesn't want our homes to be this place where we're at each other all the time.
Yeah.
Because, like you said, it's about connection. And so that the whole reason we're doing the parenting course, it's the one Danny Silk wrote, Loving Our Kids on Purpose, and that's the one that we want to start doing in church. Because it is this sense of, we've got to help our kids manage their freedom. In 2 Corinthians 3:17, it says, where the Spirit of the Lord is, there's freedom. And God, when he created us to be free. He gave us free will. We get to choose him. Jesus, when he walked on the earth, he never forced people to choose him. He always allowed them to make the decision. So the emphasis was always on relationship, not on rules, not on just following rules. And so I think as parents, we've got to have that as our goal, that it's not you must obey me, but it's like we must be connected. And when we understand each other and when we understand what matters to each other, then we will, things like obedience will come. But it's not having that
so
at the
obedience
center.
is like the fruit of what because we want to see, because we've got to train our kids, right, in the way that they should go. Mm-hmm. But we want them to, obedience to be the fruit of a relationship.
Yeah.
As opposed to if you don't obey, you're in trouble.
Yeah, because what happens is otherwise kids are making decisions based on whether somebody's going to be mad at them or not. So like, oh, better not do that because mom will be mad. And that problem is when that external threat's taken away and when they get bigger and there's not somebody always there to be mad at them, they won't have learned how to choose well because it won't have come from the internal, thinking process of how's this going to work out for me. It's just that fear of punishment that's driving their behavior. So when the fear's gone, then, what do they do?
Yeah. Well, I suppose the opposite of that, isn't it? Is trying to help our kids. Because this is what grace does, actually. Grace is about freedom and about managing freedom. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing. Like, law is dead easy because you just go, like with kids, like, if you don't do that, you're going to get a smack around the legs or you're going to be grounded for a month. Remember those days? You're grounded and you used to go, what are you thinking? I remember times when you used to say to Ben, now, if you don't do that, you'll not have anything for the next 3 weeks. And I'd be going, that means he'll just be hanging around us all the time. So let's dial down I'm taking away everything that will bring you pleasure. It's funny, isn't it? Because, law's easy. It's like, do this, do this, do this. And if you don't do this, then you're in trouble. But I suppose the opposite is managing freedom means helping our kids to think for themselves. How do they look at their options? Isn't that right? Like things that they're being presented with, getting them to ask themselves the question, if I choose this, how's it going to work out for me?
Absolutely.
Isn't that right? It's like, and we need, I suppose with our kids, like if we all chilled out a wee bit, like they are professional mistake makers, aren't they? Yeah. It's just unbelievable. Like in our house, I've actually got way better at this. When I used to get, like invariably if you get a new carpet, Sophie's going to spill her dinner on it, right? Or you made me get a dog, which, it's like, which is not part of the kids, but it was part of the kids. They wanted it. And, and then they spill stuff everywhere. They put the dog on the sofa and there's hair on it and all this kind of stuff. And you kind of go, these kids are just kind of wired at this stage to make mistakes. And once you realize that, it kind of frees you up to go, when kids get it wrong, and sometimes we feel guilty because we go, it's our fault that they're making such a mess, but actually it's all just part of growing up, isn't it?
Oh,
isn't it all just part of kind of going, they've never, the way I think about it is like, if you're a big grown up and you're making some of those mistakes, like that's different, but these kids have never been 2 before. They've never been 3 before. They've never been 5, 10, or into the teens, like as we've experienced. They've never been 15. So they haven't kind of worked it all out, what this stage of life for them requires. And, one thing is for sure, they're guaranteed to fail. They're guaranteed to drive you nuts. And they're going to get it wrong and they're going to make a mess of things. And I think if we could kind of all agree that and kind of go, that doesn't reflect badly on us as parents. That's just a statement about what kids is. And our job as parents actually is not to try and prevent the mess. because it's an inevitable part of having kids. Our job is to help them to learn about what went wrong, how they can clean it up, and then life will teach them about what they can do differently next time. You know, now here's the thing, right? I'm saying that, and it sounds, doesn't it sound dead easy? Okay, Sophie, you're a professional mistake maker, so let's not worry about the fact that you've smashed the 15th bowl this week because you don't listen, right? I get it in practice, I get it in theory, but like, what does it actually look like in real life? I mean, are we gonna talk about that?
Yeah. Because I do sense like you can hear all this, and there's times when I was first, I mean, we read the book by Danny Silk maybe about 12 years ago, and I thought, this is incredible, this is fantastic. I probably tried to put quite a lot of things into practice, but I have to say, as your kids enter different stages, it's like you feel like you've mastered something, and then they enter a new stage, and it's like, oh, flip, what am I supposed to do now?
Aye.
And I think probably for us, you know, as Ben got older and the girls came along, and you know, just life got busier, it's almost like you don't even have time to go back and read that book that was helpful and flip. I remember even at a stage going, I don't even want to read that book anymore. I'll just realize what a mess I'm making.
I know.
You know, you felt condemned to even go and read it. But so for me, going back and rediscovering a lot of this stuff and thinking, this actually is so free. And I think that's why I feel excited about doing this, because, you know, we are all on a journey. We've never been parents of 19-year-olds before or
No.
parent, you know what I mean? We're constantly on a journey and learning as much as our kids are, we are too. And so that's where I feel like there is no condemnation, or, you know, God is for us in all of this. But one of the phrases that I loved in Danny Silk's book was, I mean, how many of you would like to never argue with another child for the rest of your life?
Oh yes, sign me up.
Doesn't that sound? And you just read that and go, "Oh, please tell me the answer.
Is that
What's
possible?
the answer? Is this possible?" But it is that sense of, actually, if we start to remove ourselves a little bit and allow consequences to be the teacher, rather than constantly being annoyed and nagging and giving them lectures and fighting with them over things. So, you know, a situation that happened a couple of weeks ago for us was with Sophie. Bless Sophie. If you're watching at home tonight, sorry, Sophie.
We love
you
you,
are
Soph.
an absolute star.
You're the best.
You are. You and Hope and Ben are fantastic. But life happens, and Sophie's head is always on the go, like at 100 miles an hour. She has that many things that she's thinking about. She's organising the world. That little things, little details tend to get forgotten about. So Sophie came home.
Remember, just on that point,
Yes.
like yesterday she was all excited because she had printed, she was on the computer, remember, tapping away at stuff, and then she went upstairs, and my printer in my office was going like mad, and she came down with staplers, and she had made herself a planner, remember? I thought, is there something wrong with her? Because I was like, why is a 10-year-old making herself a weekly planner? Isn't it incredible?
Oh no! Yes, and she had everything down that she needed to do every day,
I know.
and all the things that she was going to tick off. And so so our wee heads buzzing with
all
so
the
many
time.
ideas. But like second week, no, actually end of the first week in school, she'd lost a school jumper.
Her new one?
Her new jumper,
Okay.
which in fairness,
Lasted a whole week. That's not bad.
Mummy also forgot to put the label in, so.
Oh, okay.
So there's
You
more
didn't.
to
You
the
didn't actually
story.
tell me that.
Yes.
What
But
you told me
seeing-
was Sophie had lost her jumper.
But see, in Strandtown with 1,000 kids, it doesn't seem to matter whether there's a label in it or
That's
not.
true.
I have to say, in the past, that hasn't made any difference. Anyway, so Sophie had no jumper. So I was about to do the, Sophie, seriously, 4 days in school and we've lost a jumper routine, which I would normally do. And then I remembered Penny reading this book. Come on. So I said, listen, Sophie, because her face looked worried. I said, look, don't worry about it. What do you think we could do? And she's just looking at me like, this is not normal, Mum. What could we do? What's wrong with her?
Yeah.
And I said, well, do you know what? I think we can fix this. We're not going to be able to cope with just one jumper for the year because Mum's not going to be able to do the washing fast enough. So we're going to need to get a new jumper. But it's not a problem because you've got money in your piggy bank. You can just pay me for a new jumper, or you can do some jobs. So which one do you want to do?
Oh.
So Sophie thought about it, and in fairness to her, she went, you owe me £20 for the window cleaner. So actually, just give me a $5 and then we'll be quits.
That kid's
It's
going.
like,
That kid's going far.
that's
Do any
you're
other,
on-
do any
you're
other
on.
parents out there raid their kids for like milk and the window cleaner?
The window
I
cleaner.
don't think we've ever paid the window cleaner with our money. It's
Well,
always
they do get the money back eventually. Anyway, so Sophie.
Anyway, yeah.
But you know what? This is a little lesson in Sophie learning responsibility, because actually I just thought the nagging doesn't work because this is a repeated cycle in Sophie's life that she
Yeah.
forgets things. So maybe the thought of, it's going to cost some money, is a better teacher. So the
I think so.
consequences are the teacher. And then I haven't had to nag at her. I haven't moaned. We haven't got upset with each other. And life's just gone on.
Brilliant.
And she was happy about it.
Good. There's probably 500 Sophies at Strandtown as well, to be fair. So I think on that, it's interesting, like, probably years ago, we would have responded differently to that. Like, flip's sake, Soph, like, what are you doing? Brand new jumper, start a term, da-da-da. And I think a lot of our struggles with parenting actually are about, not so much about the child's behaviour at times, because like in the big scheme of things, it's jumper, right? But it's how we respond to what the kids do, isn't it? And kids soon learn, don't they? They know which buttons to press. And if they see your behaviour in a certain way, they know to press a button. And so a massive part of what we're going to talk about in this course is how do you manage yourself? Even when the kids are like having a meltdown and stuff, because, like when kids have messed up, what they want is they want you to step in and just fix it. We even find this with our older ones. It's like, oh my goodness, this is broken, Dad. And but we've got to learn to let them own those problems, help them to learn to problem solve. And it's like particularly problem solving. It's like you're in this situation now. What are you going to do? How do you take responsibility? And like per Soph's getting a bit of a touch now, but she's cracker. She came out running from school. It was last week, and she'd forgotten her homework. And instead of going, for goodness sake, I was like, flip, Soph, what are you going to do? You've forgotten your homework. And kind of turned the tables and put it back on her to think about it. And, because often, I'm a fixer, so I'll just jump in and fix it. And I want to fix it because I love them. But then I realize that in doing that all the time, I'm not actually helping. They've got to try and start and figure out the solutions for themselves, because they're dead smart. Like, kids learn fast.
Absolutely.
Something they don't like happens once, like they'll learn quickly and let them figure it out for themselves.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And in that case, like Sophie, I said, well, what do you want to do? You just wait till tomorrow. She said, I have a lot of homework this week, Mum. And I was like, well, what else could you do? She's like, well, I could go on Dojo, see if somebody else can send me the homework, or maybe I'll just run back to school now. And she weighed it all up, thought about it. I said, right, off you go. So she raced back, got her homework, came back, all done. But it was that sense of, I know in the past I would have maybe jumped in to try and fix it for her. But funny this, because actually this week with Hope, we've been doing the opposite. She wasn't feeling great. And last week she'd forgotten all about her HE homework.
Oh, Lord above.
Yes. And then what happened? So it's funny, isn't it? Because it's almost like with Sophie, I've been trying these new things. And then with Hope, Andrew's been running around after her.
I know, it was funny. It was running around Tesco's at 7:45 last Monday morning, because she'd forgotten about HE. And it was we had this funny moment, right, where she was going through the cupboards, as she does. Hi, Daddy. She's great form in the mornings. Just getting ready for HE. She said, where's our freshly shaved Parmesan? And I went, what? She went, I need it for HE. Where's our freshly shaved Parmesan? To which I replied, it's a Monday, darling. We give the Parmesan shaver the day off on a Monday. You know that. I was like, what do you think? Freshly shaved? And she said, okay, well, don't worry about that, Daddy. Just some chicken breast pieces, seared chicken breast pieces and something. I was going, Hope, you must be having a laugh here. She went, well, I've got HE, and then it's all panic. So I'm running around Tesco's like a buck Egypt.
Yes, yeah. And then Monday. I realised, this is now maybe about the fourth time that Hope's forgotten about HE. And so... and
it's never like making a jam sandwich, is it? It's always like...
Yes.
Like it was salmon this morning. Salmon and something else like that. School's having a laugh. Anyway, I digress.
Anyway, yes. But it is that sense of, I think, the only way that Hope's going to remember HE is the morning that we go, oh dear, Hope.
What are you going to do?
What are you going to do? And that she's going to have to go into school and face the teacher and explain, I forgot to get my stuff. And I know as a parent, you think, oh no, she's going to get upset. Oh, that's a nightmare.
She's going to get into trouble.
She's going to get into trouble. I don't want nightmare. That. But actually, we've got to come to the place where we go, how much am I actually helping this child? How much am I hindering her? Because I just keep going in and rescuing her because I hate the thought.
Yeah.
But actually, 5 times now that she's forgotten about HE, something has to change. And it is that sense of stepping back and thinking, you know, at times we can get so frustrated. We can get, you know, this, and there can be so many kind of daily battles that we have because there's things that we just, dread almost because we know the way things play out. I remember years ago we dreaded bath time with the girls because they hated getting the hair washed. And this is how great parents we were. We used to bribe Ben, if you can wash the girls' hair and they don't cry, you can have an extra half an hour on the PlayStation. And girls...
That's genius, though.
Girls, if you don't cry...
Do you know what, folks? You'll not see that in a book anywhere, but I'll tell you what.
But he was like...
Whatever works.
He seemed to have this magic way of being able to wash the hair without them getting upset. They didn't...
Maybe he just didn't wash their hair and told us that he did.
But
that's just come to me.
Nobody's signing up to our parenting course anymore. But the point was, there's things that we do. There's things that we dread because it's always the same. You know, it's always the same fights. It's always the same reactions. And so either we just bury our head in the sand for an easy life and we cave and we give in, or we just like dig in and it's the battle lines are drawn. And neither of those are great. So I suppose we're trying to say, you know, this just sometimes it's about stepping back and thinking, could there be a different way?
Yeah.
You know, how else could I do this?
Absolutely. And do you know what, folks? We've got about. I hope you're enjoying this. We're going to go for 5 more minutes, and hopefully you're having a bit of a laugh with us. And parents going, I know exactly what it's like because we do need a different approach, don't we? And like we're definitely not here with all the answers. Far from it. I mean, you're talking about bribing our kids and stuff. Bribing our kids on purpose, that could be a whole different course. But, you know, we are suggesting that there might be a different way to step back and think about this, right? Because, like, you know, if you say, Lord, you don't want my house to be like a war zone. You don't want me to be at odds with my kids. You want us to be at peace and rest in the house. You want grace to be over it all. You don't want me to just give up on being a parent. And, you know, my kids need me. Like, my job is to form them and shape them, and you want me to stay connected with them, not just when they're wee, but the whole way through their lives. So help me to manage their freedom. So it's not about anarchy. Actually, when people go, all this stuff about choice, kids just get to choose. But it's not. It's about boundaries. And boundaries make kids really, really happy. You know, you make the limits clear, just like a fence around the garden. This is in and this is not. And like bedtime is classic, right? You know, I don't know what bedtime is like in your house, people, but in our house, it's always... So how do you manage freedom? Well, like get up to your bed and all that stuff, or just give loads of choices. So would you like to go to bed now or in 5 minutes?
Yeah, what's the kids going to say? I mean, I did this recently with that because our girls still will be like, oh, Sarah says
you actually did it with me
now.
recently as well. Would you like to go to bed now, Andrew? Or later on? Like, would you like to walk upstairs or do you want me to carry you? Right? Yeah. What about, do you want to wash your face first or clean your teeth? Which one? Any others you can think of?
It's that whole sense of you can give them lots and lots of choices within the boundary lines, and actually
so the boundary lines are you're going to bed now, but here's all the choices you can make.
Yes. Do you want a red cup or do you want a blue cup?
Do you want me to read the story or do you want to read the story to me?
Do you want the light on or off? Do you want the door closed or open?
Yeah.
Because I think the thing is, particularly around bedtimes, is you can't actually force your children to go to sleep. And that's why our parents, at times, we're all like tearing our hair out, trying to get them to go to sleep. But actually, you can create the environment where they know, no, you need to be in your room and you need to be quiet. And the one thing you can enforce is that they have to get up the next morning.
Yes.
You know, you not be able to control the time that they go to sleep, but you can definitely control the fact that, hey, 7 o'clock or 7:30 or 6 or whatever time it needs to be in your house, it's morning, we're getting up, we're doing this. And if they're not getting to sleep early enough at night, then the consequences will soon teach them that actually I'm tired, I want my bed, you know.
Or they'll look like our Sophie, where if she's just been a wee bit late. Sophie used to have like for breakfast like 2 cereals, remember? I want that one, and then she would just sit there, kind of almost like if she could just put her head into her milk, and you just think, this child's going to learn some way, isn't it? I guess, look, we need to wrap up. We've got 2 minutes left here. Parenting is a journey, and it's always going to be a challenge. Nobody's got it nailed, and, you know, particularly not us. So we're not setting ourselves up as that because we don't have all the answers. But, you know, we'll always become, you know, there's always going to be situations with our kids that make us think about, you know, how we're raising them and how we're supposed to respond. And I think that's key. I think we have to think about it again. I think we need to think about new strategies and like seeing things from God's perspective about parenting and grace. And, you know, actually seeing parenting through the eyes of grace and replacing our thoughts and our challenges with what the Lord says in grace about it. And I think that's what the Lord's asking us to do. And certainly as a church, we want to help people with that. And because, like, one thing I would say is what chuckles me about, you know, those people who don't have kids at some stage in their life, and then they tell you what you should be doing with your kids, and then they end up having kids. And you don't need to say anything, but inside you're going, told you so. And because you just go, you're not so smarmy now, right? Just being honest. It's like, but we don't want that. You know, we don't want people to be struggling and feeling like they're hopeless, or, you know, it's just like hard work, because God doesn't want, like I said, our families to be war zones, or our homes to be war zones. He doesn't want us to be overwhelmed. He wants our kids to enjoy life. He wants us to enjoy being parents. He wants us to provide for them, have a safe place for them where they can grow, where they can be nurtured. And that's going to be all around guarding our connection with them. It's like, you'll deal with all the really tough, look, you're going to have to deal with the tough stuff anyway.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
The thing is, how do you want to deal with the tough stuff? Do you want to stay on their side and allow them to own their problems and learn how to fix them? Or do you just want to dominate them, and then when they get to a certain age and you take the brakes off them, or you take the boundaries off them, then they haven't actually learned anything other than fear.
Absolutely.
You know, and so I think that's what our course is all about. We've got 1 minute to finish this. You know, we can't do it alone. Isn't that right?
Absolutely. Well, you know, it is that sense of it's the grace of God that gets us through every day. It's the fact that, you know, even when we do feel like we've messed up, we can come to him, and every day is a new day. Just like, I think that's one thing we've always instilled in our house, isn't it? Yesterday was yesterday, it's gone.
Yeah.
Today's a new day. We'll start afresh. There's no moods. There's no, you know, going over what was before. And I think that's, even as parents, that's what we need to remind ourselves every day, that the Lord's just saying, today's a new day. I'm with you. I'm for you. I am more invested in your family than you could ever be. And I want to help you. I'm not here to criticize you or point the finger or show you what you're doing wrong. I'm actually here to cheer you on as a parent.
Amen. Yeah, so no guilt, no condemnation, just a second chance, third chance, fourth chance to get it right.
Absolutely.
Brilliant. Well, listen, I hope you enjoyed that. Our parenting course starts next Tuesday at 7:30. It is online, so wherever you are, you can join us. So you just need to go to our website, exchangechurchbelfast.com, and sign up, or you can email. I think it's on the screen, office@exchangechurchbelfast.com. So you need to register so we know that you're going to be there. We've already got quite a few people coming along. It's going to be good fun. Meet other parents, exchange stories, be very cathartic, get some new strategies around how to build connection with our kids. And so that's starting next Tuesday night, 7:30. UK time, if anyone's abroad wanting to join us. And so just go to our website and sign up and let us know, and we'll look forward to seeing you.
Absolutely.
As we do you know what?
Let's see what week we'll have this week with the kids.
I think we're just going to start with half an hour of storytelling so that we all realize that we're dead normal. All right, well, listen, folks, thanks so much for tuning in. This has been a blast, and good to talk about parenting. We're here at this church to strengthen families, strengthen kids, strengthen parents, to build safe, strong, contented, happy homes for parents and for kids. That's what our heart here is at Exchange. So we would love to help you with that. So if you want to come to church on Sunday, you see us 11 o'clock Sunday morning here in Belfast or online, and also next Tuesday night, 7:30. All right?
Awesome.
Do you wonder what's happened at home while we've been doing this?
Oh, my word.
Who knows? Anyway, see you later. Thanks so much.
Bye.